In this video, we'll go over what free stacking is, why people stack, why free stacking is a problem, and a few possible solutions to the problem. So grab your advanced GG shaker and let's dive into it. Okay guys, as a preface, this might end up being a bit controversial, so before we head into this, remember that this is my opinion, and before you make up your mind, make sure that you watch the entire video all the way to the end, and if you still feel like you disagree at the end, the dislike button is right there, but better yet, please leave a comment on the video and we'll have a discussion. Now, this is a subject that comes up from time to time, and if you spend any time in my stream, you probably already heard a fair share of arguments from both sides. I'm making this video as a means to get my thoughts out in a concise manner and hopefully stop me from having to explain my point of view every single time we run into it. We are of course talking about free stacking. Whoa, I saw you right there. You were about to say, well, Ottr, what about playing with friends? I'm just playing with my friends. And I'll say this, if you're genuinely playing with your friends, shooting the shit, vibing and having a good time, I do not have a problem with you. But if you try it in pubs like it's the final round of ALGS when everyone else is just trying to have a good time, and when confronted about it, you make up excuses about how you're just playing with your friends, bro, then I definitely have a problem with you. Let's start with the what. What is free stacking? There's a lot of definitions and waters are muddy, but for the sake of this video and moving onward, I will refer to free stacking, derogatory, as a full group of premates playing Apex together and trying way too hard for a public, casual game, either through holding hands, playing tournament compositions, and strats such as Riven and Octane, or camping buildings with Caustic, in general sacrificing casual or their own fun play in order to brute force out a win. Now, a stack, endearing, can also just be a group of premates, which doesn't necessarily mean that they're intentionally trying to game the system, but more on that later. As much as I hate using the word, I really think that trying to the point of getting a nosebleed in a casual setting is incredibly cringy, and bringing in a free stack into the mix just makes it even worse. There's something about being the only one taking the game serious to the point that you're sacrificing your own enjoyment in order to stick it to people who want to have fun that doesn't sit right with me. The wider the skill gap between pubs and the stack's skill level, the worse. A full stack of gold players who's taking it easy running around isn't really all that bad, but a whole stack of predator level streamers running shoulder to shoulder, target calling, rotation calling, playing positions and meta compositions is incredibly, well, cringy. If you bring a tryharding free stack into a casual environment, I will just always think of you as Michael from The Office, specifically that one episode where they played a casual game of workplace basketball, and everyone came to the field wearing their work clothes and just got prepared to have a good time, but Michael instead brought a full set of sweatbands and sneakers, and he took it so seriously. It's not cool. You look ridiculous. What are you doing? So why? Why are people doing this? People free stacking in the tryhard sense have various reasons as to why they do it. They might be tilted with the teammates that the game gives them in solo queue. They might feel like ranked is too hard for them as a team. They might feel like solo queue is too hard for them as solo players. And they just pick up their own teammates so they can win more games. They might be content creators and they want to put out consistent wins and content without ever losing. But unless I'm missing something, it all more or less falls on them wanting easier games or free wins. And short of smurfing, and there's plenty of people who stack and smurf, by the way, there's not really any other way of getting these. Once again, I have nothing against people just playing to enjoy the game, but if you are being objective in a sense, they are gaming the system to get easier games, but this is something we'll get to very soon. I've seen someone make the argument that they are warming up for ranked or for tournaments, but the difference between ranked at the higher levels and pubs is so incredibly large. They would be better off just fighting target practice dummies, and if anything, by practicing this team play in public games, they're not getting punished for their mistakes and they're just solidifying their bad plays. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So why is this a problem? The crux of the issue is that unlike lots of bigger games such as Overwatch, League of Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Apex doesn't have a separate matchmaking for solo queuers and full stacks. As everyone knows, the matchmaking is deeply flawed, and if you are on the upper spectrum of the SBMM, you can relate to the phrase Big Brother or backpack matchmaking, where you as a strong individual player are placed with incredibly weak sandbags to even out the teams. The main problem lies in the fact that you will be matched into the same lobbies no matter whether you are solo or with a stack. So theoretically, you as the strongest player could bring in two other strong players, say predators, and suddenly you are 3 predators but you're weighed as 1. You might run into other predators in your lobbies, but unlike your team, they don't have 2 predators who are playing with them. They are on their own with a level 10 and 15 teammate. But if the system weighed you differently, finding other full predator premade squads in the time lapse of the short second-long queue time is statistically impossible. A predator is the top 0. Many zeros of a players out of the millions in the game, and the odds of several predators being in the same lobby are slim to none, which means that a solo predator more often than not will find himself with sandbags against a lobby full of, well, worse than predator players. Cut away these sandbags and bring in 2 more 0. Many zero players, and suddenly you have a bloodbath on your hands. I'm referencing the extreme end of the matchmaking, but this applies to all levels of play in all types of competitive games. Apex Legends doesn't have the strongest matchmaking, but in any type of matchmaking system, a full stack will always be greater than the sum of their SPMM. Let's paint the picture and say we have a perfectly balanced match with 60 players of the exact same skill level. Everyone in the team has 1,000 rank points. Not RP, just a theoretical number for the example. If all of these players are solo players, the sum of their points would be 3,000. They might not have microphones, they might just want to do their objectives for the day, or just send it and disconnect when they get down, meaning that their actual values of the team could be way lower than 3,000. However, another team of players may be stacked up, and while the sum of their points would be 3,000 on paper, the value of synergy, consistency, and a predetermined plan is immeasurable. A full stack might be worth 3,000 points if they're not taking the game serious, but as a unit, their combined value will be vastly over 3,000, and there's no system that can calculate their actual value and place them in a fair match. In essence, this means that in the eyes of the matchmaking, a full stack team with all of its benefits is way the same as a team of solo players. And no matter how you spin it, they will always be at a disadvantage from the stack. And I want to add, even though it's not the point of the video, I want to bring up that even a stack that isn't tryharding will be breaking the system, and they have an effective value above the theoretical rank number. Stacks don't get sandbags unless they choose to, and as opposed to a team of solos, a group of friends will almost always be in a voice call and play the game together till its end. Once again, their value as a team is impossible to boil into a number, but unless they're challenging themselves by splitting up across the map, they will always be stronger than a team of solo curers. It's worth noting that with the increasing amount of stacks in the game, the matchmaking is becoming increasingly worse, as it can never sufficiently balance around full teams like we discussed before. The game will become increasingly unenjoyable for solos and stacks alike as the sweat levels rise, with the matchmaking throwing completely unbalanced teams into the same mix. The quickest and easiest fix for this would be splitting the queues, and this would mend this issue in a heartbeat. No matter how you spin it, the solo players, and what I assume to be the majority of players, are suffering. But it's a team-based game, and I hear this a lot, and yes, Apex is a team-based game. What that means is that a team with good communication and synergy will always beat the team that isn't up to par with their team play. So since it's a team game, full stacks will benefit disproportionately more than a game balanced around solo players. And as a side note, I don't even think I know a single game out there that is made around solo players, unless it's already 1v1. Ottr, why are you talking about this? I'm choosing to bring this up because it's something that I run into every single game. And the closer we get to the end of a split or a season, the more full tryhardy stacks I run into. And while I am speaking out as it is ruining my own enjoyment and my ability to make content, it's not just about me. Even the best player in the world cannot deal with a full team of masters or predator tryharding as a stack. Picture this scenario. You have a 1v3 situation, maybe the best player in the world is no filling. He has to deal a total of at least 600 damage against a full team of predators. And all they have to do is deal about 60 damage each. Keep in mind, you're running hand in hand and just gunning it towards the solo player. He has no chance in hell to make it out of this alive. That's what a team-based game looks like. So if the cream of the crop of Apex Legends players are suffering, how will the average player deal with the full stacks running them down? Hint, they don't. And they either stop playing the game or they get their own stack, possibly enabling the next player and bringing the community farther down the mud. I am not making this video as a call out to people who do stack in pubs, excessively sweaty or not. I just want to bring attention to this issue, and hopefully Respawn will make some changes to the game to make it more bearable as a solo player, especially as stack numbers rise. So what about ranked? Now, ranked is very flawed, and we have discussed this before in the Why Apex Ranked Sucks video. It's probably a card there somewhere, and I'd argue that after a certain rank, you should be bound to solo queue only for the sake of competitive integrity, but that's a different discussion for another time. If you guys do want me to talk about that, just let me know in the comments and maybe I'll put a video together. Okay, Ottr, so what are the solutions? There are a few ways to deal with this issue, and it's something that has been tackled by several developers and titles in the past. You could try to take the angle where instead of matchmaking a full stack by the sum of their points, you tack on extra makeshift points as an estimate, and if they're up against solo players, those solo players individually are ranked higher, and they would be able to put up with this challenge. So let's say 3 players with a total of 3,000 points stack up together, the matchmaking would add a temporary buffer of 1,000 points. bringing them all up to a total of 4,000, meaning that the people they play against would have individual rank of 1,300. The issue with this fix is that you can still not accurately measure the value of a full team together. There might just be some friends playing together who now are facing a way larger challenge that they can actually handle, or there might be a full pro team with thousands and thousands of hours of practice together just ruining pubs. These two teams would be matched the same. The easiest and the most straightforward fix, which is also the most common, is simply separating solo or duo queuing players from the full parties, also known as mercenary queue in Call of Duty. Stacks will be matched using the sum of their points added together without the worry of solo players getting the short end of the stick, but the option to stack with your friends would still be there. Thanks to the addition of crossplay, we definitely have the player base to support this change. I do not have the data for it, but I would assume that the amount of solo players grossly outweighs the amount of stackers, and if anyone would see the longer queue time, it would be the stacks. But personally, I think that's fine, as if you want to play with your friends or you want to try it in public games, you probably have committed the time and you can wait a few extra seconds for that queue to pop. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Check out advanced GG code Ottr for 10% off, link in the description, and make sure to smash that like button so this video can reach more people, and I will see you guys tomorrow.